And predictions ahead of the 24-25 NBA preseason. Look at Josh Green. Josh Green headlining this article, man. Good for him. See, this is what needed to happen. He needed to leave the Mavericks so he could spread his wings and fly. And now here he is on the Hornets, and according to ESPN, just putting him front and center of this article. He's the face of the Charlotte Hornets. So congratulations, Josh Green. Which newcomer is the... Okay, so what even is this? This is top questions and predictions out of the 24-25 season. We got some riders here on deck. Which newcomer has the biggest adjustments ahead, and who is the best fit? Right? So let's see what... Thompson's skill set is exactly what Dallas needs. All right, we're immediately going into Clay. A lethal outside shooter to complement Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but Thompson is coming from a system that was predicated on constant and precise movement. Now the shooter will often be watching Doncic and Irving dominate the ball. In time, Thompson could be the ideal fit for Jason Kidd's offense. Mikal Bridges, though, should be a perfect fit for the Knicks. So immediately I'm like, one, I do think the Knicks had an overrated offseason. Full stop. I think Mikal Bridges is going to be great. Mikal Bridges, just for the last year and a half, was the main guy on offense, and now that's going to change dramatically for the better for him. But I'm trying to understand how, for Clay, I would understand if it was, hey, Clay's been a catch-and-shoot guy that hasn't moved around at all, and now he's going to a system where he's constantly moving around off the ball, and like they're asking you to move and be constantly moving on offense and coming off screens. That I could see being like, that might be a little difficult for him. But going from that to, hey, Clay, you're going to get so many wide open catch and shoot threes by just standing there. How is that fucking difficult? Huh? What's the big adjustment there? Hey, Clay, take practice shots in the gym that you take every day 1,000 times. Chris Herring, I'm extremely curious to see how Randall will gel with the Timberwolves. He deserves a ton of credit for becoming the player he did during his time at the Knicks and making 2 All-NBA teams in New York, but playing alongside up-and-coming superstar Anthony Edwards in a new offense and in a potential contract year could be challenging. Yeah, the Julius Randle one is a questionable fit. That's a much better answer than Klay Thompson. In terms of fantastic automatic fit, I really think Chris Paul will do damage alongside Victor Wembanyama. Yeah, that's also just a perfect fit. Match made in heaven. Chris Paul on the Spurs. If you put, all right, here's an interesting question, interesting little thought exercise. If you put prime Chris Paul, keep in mind, prime Chris Paul, we're talking top 5 player in the league. We're talking top 3 MVP vote getter, right? If you put him on the Spurs team, what's their ceiling? I'm thinking second round exit. I think that they could be a finals team, actually. Fringe playoff with prime Chris Paul. Tim McMahon. Thompson has the biggest adjustment to make. What? I mean, how could you think this? The biggest adjustment in the league? Even the phone doesn't agree. But the cleanest fit among big names who changed team is Paul. Yeah, I do agree. Chris Paul's a great fit. Kevin Pelton, DeRozan. See, like, okay, thank you, Kevin Pelton. How does Klay Thompson have a more difficult fit by just, hey, Klay Thompson, shoot threes? How is that a more difficult fit than DeMar DeRozan? Huh? I know, guys. I've seen all the Luka injury stuff. Trust me, I've seen all of it. I'm not concerned. Paul George is the easiest fit. I think that's a more interesting fit. It figures that Thompson is the guy with the major adjustment coming his way. Man, I do have to say, it does feel like there's just such a weird Dallas thing going on here. There just is. I hate to be that guy, and you guys know I'm not that guy. Sometimes I can't help but feel like there is some strange. A lot of people are 1,000% overthinking the Klay fit. I mean, way overthinking it. He's going from a partnership with an all-time type player in Steph Curry and winning 4 championships. All right, Dave, we're going to have problems. I hate the way you worded this. He's going from a partnership with an all-time type of player in Steph Curry and winning 4 championships to joining a team that is relying on him to be the missing piece after losing the 2020 finals. Brother, the Mavericks are not relying on Klay Thompson to go back to the NBA Finals. The idea is that Klay Thompson can help push them over the top to help them in the NBA Finals. They're not relying on Klay Thompson to make the NBA Finals. You understand? Do you understand? And that's some Lucas shade right there. Meanwhile, the combination of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein should assimilate swimmingly on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So if I'm just playing devil's advocate, for me, I personally think Klay Thompson just an easy as it fucking gets fit on the Dallas Mavericks, right? Caruso and Hartenstein, who's coming off the bench there? Is Hartenstein playing next to Chet Holmgren? Like, how are they going to work that in to the equation? Caruso, the Thunder are going to need somebody. Look, we can show on Josh Giddey all we want. The Thunder are going to need somebody to step up and fill in that playmaking void that he's leaving. Is Caruso going to be that guy? Like, come on now. I can't say anybody like, yeah, that's an easy no-brainer fit. And I do think it is, by the way. I think Hartenstein's an easy fit with the Thunder. Which star is the most approved this season? Giannis and Damian Lillard. How could it be Giannis? With the most to prove. Nobody thinks the Bucks can beat the Celtics. Like, how could he have the most to prove? I do kind of agree that Dame could maybe be in this list here. Because if this doesn't work again, then you start to look at Dame sideways a little bit. Yeah, and here we go. The answer is easily Joel Embiid. Like, I don't think it's even close. The answer is easily still Joel Embiid. Like, most people are saying this is maybe the best team he's had. They've just outright said we need him to be healthy for the postseason. That's all we care about. They need to go on a deep playoff run. Article about Klay Thompson left Golden State equals clicks. Article about DeRozan joining a new team is something casual fans don't even know. And that's true. Tim McMahon. Harden. How could James Harden have the... I mean, at this point in time, does Harden have much to prove? Like, realistically. What? Well, what's anyone going to say if the Clippers win 38 games this year? Is that going to change how we view Harden really at all anymore? Now, I will say, if the Clippers are surprisingly good and Harden is, like, back to being a top 10 player, that is, like, holy shit, James Harden. Embiid. I mean, the answer is clearly Embiid. Let's see what the reasoning is for Luka. The most to prove, Luka Doncic. 25 years old, coming off of an NBA Finals appearance. I would say that gives him some leniency in terms of having to prove things, but let's hear him out. After finishing third in MVP voting and coming up short in the NBA Finals, there's very little left for Luka Doncic to clear before he could claim control of the league. His first 6 seasons have already been dominant by individual standards. His 28.7 points per game is the third highest scoring average ever behind only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain, while his 8.3 assists average ranks 12th during that span. It's crazy. He has the type of potential of breaking through and then ruling the roost for a decade plus. The question is, will he have the urgency to start that push now, fueled by that Celtics defeat when he had a combined 15 turnovers and losses in games 2 and 5? Okay, I mean, yeah, sure. Or the 25-year-old need more time to reach that point. That's a good, honestly, that I like that. I actually like that because he's approaching it from the angle of, hey, Luka could, like, be the guy in the NBA for the next 6-7 years, and can he prove that this year? I think that's a very reasonable answer. If that's like the expectation you have for Luka, that's a completely and totally reasonable answer. That's. I feel like this is some of you are mad in the chat. I feel like this is actually more of a show of respect than anything. Which new coach needs to make the best first impression on their team? Is the answer is JJ? Like, what's even the point of this? JJ Redick. Like, it's obviously JJ Redick, right? He will be chased out of town if the Lakers aren't good immediately. Okay, Doc Rivers. If you're counting Doc Rivers, then yes, that's a good answer as well. But yes, Reddick. Oh, okay. Budenholzer for the Suns. See, here's the thing, though. Lakers fandom is absolutely batshit insane. It's just the way that they treat Lakers coaches. If the Lakers suck early on, JJ Redick is going to be thrown into the fire, thrown to the wolves, right? Doc Rivers is under a lot of pressure because it wasn't good last year. You now have a full season. You've said some wild shit about, I wouldn't wish this upon anyone taking over this team midseason. Like, if the Bucks are bad immediately, he's going to get a ton of shit. Budenholzer, though, like the Suns, I feel like, especially Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, those guys have such, what's the word I'm looking for? They have such little currency, positive currency with like NBA fans, that if they suck, no one's gonna blame Budenholzer besides maybe Suns fans. Everyone's gonna be blaming their players. Similarly to Doc and Bud, Kenny Atkinson is taking over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, come on, man, it's not Kenny Atkinson. Which East contender has the toughest path to the conference finals? They all kind of do. Somebody inevitably is gonna have to play the Celtics in round 2. Right? The Sixers could have a tougher time finding their stride than the Celtics and Knicks. I think that that's true. Especially if they're going to be very cautious with Embiid. I think that that's fair. Milwaukee, simply because it's an older group that's had both health issues and defensive challenges. Yeah, that's a good answer as well. The Knicks, so we're just going with all of them. The Knicks will have their problems as well. Ask me in April for now. I'll note that even if the Indiana Pacers take a step forward after winning 47 games last season, they'll probably have a much more difficult path getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's also a good answer. Yeah, it's funny we're doing all of this. I say how like nobody takes it feels like people don't take the Mavs as seriously as they should, even coming off of a finals appearance. The Pacers did make the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Like they did, and we can all sort of recognize that they got a little bit lucky with injuries and stuff like that during their run, but they did make the Eastern Conference Finals, and it feels like anyone's just like never ever mentioned. I feel like the Knicks are a sneaky, real disappointment team. Like that's just how the vibe I get with them for some reason. I don't know. Which West contender has the toughest path to the NBA Finals? The Denver Nuggets' path back to the NBA Finals is tougher after losing Atavius Caldwell-Pope in free agency. I actually, it's funny. I kind of like Bill Simmons, his take on the Cat trade, that it's a bad thing for the Nuggets because it means teams aren't taking them as seriously anymore. Like the Timberwolves specifically built their team to beat the Nuggets. They did it. And then they looked at the landscape of the league and they're like, we don't need our team built to beat them anymore. Like, I thought that was kind of a funny way to look at I'm sure that didn't have much to do with their logic, but it is kind of a funny way, something only Bill Simmons could really think of. Yeah, the Nuggets, it'll be interesting to see how it works for them. Depending on where you draw the line of contender, I'm not sure any team in the West jumps out, but I'm really curious to see how the Nuggets are probably the overwhelming answer here. Here's another Nuggets answer. I was surprised, as everyone else, that my stat-based wins projection had the Minnesota Timberwolves so low. But there are reasons to question whether they could repeat last year's conference finals run. I do agree, and I've been saying this. I don't know why everyone's just like penciling in the Timberwolves for being as good, if not better, than they were a year ago. I think there's definitely ways that they could regress. That's like not that hard to believe. Because it isn't like they're the Thunder, this super young team that is just going to continue to grow, and it's really hard to imagine them taking steps backwards. Like, they got Anthony Edwards, who's young. Outside of that, like, they're really not that young of a team. Denver. I mean, Denver's the easy answer here. All right, is that it? Yeah. Interesting article. I got to give ESPN some props, man. They've fed us. They have fed us during this offseason with these articles.